thought she was 25 years old again.
I never worked out when I was 20.
Because of the vote.
For the day.
You started that? That's right.
Good. Amen. Really?
Have a seat, Jerry. We're waiting on you. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Alan Brock's on his way. We got Jerry here. David?
Thank you, Commissioners. As you know, we went through the storm, and we've been through our crew, our staff has really done a great job. I want to recognize Scott Nelson. He's really managed this disaster really well. We've had meetings with FEMA, with the state. We're still in assessment mode. Scott will address you guys on where we stand with that. As well as our public works folks, which they're not quite here yet. They're going to assess us on road conditions, where we got some other flooding issues as well. The purpose of this is to bring you up to date as to where we are, and then also we've got a few items that we need to go ahead and take care of so that we can be able to move forward. But as I said, we're expecting a formal declaration from FEMA as far as declaring a disaster area. Hopefully we'll have that by Wednesday, but Scott can bring you up to date on that. With that, Scott, you want to...
David, you want to go ahead and do the consent agenda first?
That's one of the things we need to do. We can't, unless it's related to the disaster, we cannot approve those at this time.
I move that we approve the payments
You
of
said
bills.
we can't do it. You said we can't do that, right?
Yeah, this is a limited call emergency.
Why we got on there. So we're going to take that off of the agenda, please.
Okay. Scott?
Well, good morning. I'm just going to give you a fairly quick briefing. It's all in the sit reps we continue to put out, but we did see rainfall this morning in parts of the county approaching 1 inch. We didn't see the water increase. We do have rain scheduled again this evening, potentially in the next few days, but so far that hasn't caused a rise, but certainly it'll take longer for the water to get out of here with that. And I've got a hydrologist with the Water Management District. I'll allow them some of my time here in just a second. Local impacts, certainly right now we've seen flooding throughout the county. If you look at our pinpoint maps, you'll see we have major impacts in Sopchoppy, we've got impacts in Panacea, we've got impacts central part of the county as well as around the golf course. So and we also had some flooding along the upper St. Marks around St. Mark's Rise and Old Magnolia, although not nearly as significant flooding as we had in 2008 with Fay. But our whole county has been impacted, and certainly as you look at the rivers, record flooding on the Sopchoppy by about 6 feet, and we'll have a more accurate reading of actually how high it got after they get in there and do some site surveys. Their gauge broke. It was actually destroyed early on in this process, so we'll actually see, but we can see from the records we've got many homes in the Sopchoppy area that are severely impacted. The Lost Creek area, we watched it come up. Also now we've got Woodland Drive that seems to be tapering off. Lake Allen area seems to be dropping. So good news there, but we don't expect it to continue to rise, but there's some, we'll let the hydrologist speak to that, but basically what we saw was a phenomenon called ponding, and we'll let them describe that. But water came up through the sinkholes. Donaldson-Williamson area was another one, and we saw it at different times in the county. Earlier in places it moved throughout the county, and then again this latest one on Woodland Drive. was later in the process. Everywhere else was going down, it was rising there. So it's a phenomenon that they can try to speak to, but I don't think it's easy to report. I think Brad Harvey's going to report on the damage. I'll just tell you, we did our preliminary damage assessment with FEMA. Started it Friday, ended it Saturday. The governor has put in a declaration for IA, which is individual assistance. That's the assistance that will allow individuals to call FEMA and gain direct access. That process, we had a lot of calls, people letting us know of damage. We appreciate that. The reason was so we could make sure we didn't miss anybody, to make sure we were declared. Now that hopefully we'll be declared in the next couple of days, the next process is they'll quit calling us and they'll call FEMA as soon as we're declared and that's released. So that's the next process for the citizens. As far as the county, the governor has not asked for a declaration for PA, which is how the county gets reimbursed. They're still collecting numbers. We expect, I talked to them today, they expect today they'll reach that threshold for that. So for IA, they've reached statewide a threshold. For PA, it takes a statewide threshold. I believe it's 25 million in damages. They expect that today they'll reach that threshold, but he's not going to ask for it until we get there.
PA's public assistance.
Public assistance. So that's how we get reimbursed for our road damage, for all the work that's on the public sector side. And again, they expect it. One of the first disasters I've been involved with at IA came before PA.
Okay, but now the IA, Scott, it's for sure?
The IA has been requested. I can tell you that it looks to me like FEMA's leaning forward. They're starting to set up disaster recovery centers. They're starting to get people ramped up to come. So the people I know at FEMA are saying I'm getting activated. That tells me that I believe they're going to sign it. I've also heard from people close to it that the president will sign as soon as the governor asks. Well, the governor did ask for that IA, so...
Okay, can we, now that, I mean, to me, that's the most important thing that citizens need to know about. Can we do a reverse call where we can use that system to...
As soon as we know we have IA, we'll be putting out flyers. We'll be putting it through all our modes of communication. We probably won't do a reverse call, simply because the reverse 911 requires it to be a life safety emergency. But we'll be handing out flyers with the Red Cross. We'll be putting it on all of our nation. We can have a call bank in 911, make phone calls if we need to, but
I think that'd be best.
Typically, they do a very good job of pummeling the areas by hand with flyers, and I think most of the people out there have seen Red Cross. They go door to door, knocking on all the doors. So we want to make sure they're informed. As soon as we know, we'll start putting that information out. But it's a little early, but from everything I see, I think we're going to get IA. For Wakulla County. It's been requested, and I think the president's just been waiting on that request, so I think that'll move quickly. With that is the process, and again, Brad will talk about the areas. Road closures, we've certainly started the week off with quite a few road closures. We're down now to Smith Creek Road at Cypher Creek Bridge, Donaldson-Williamson Road, which is clearing up, Surf Road at Buckhorn Creek, Bostic Pelt, Decatur Street, Otter Lake, which those areas are dropping, but dropping slowly. It's taken a while for the water to get out of there, just no areas for them to get out, so we're waiting on the groundwater. Sop Choppy River Bridge and Rose Street Bridge there in Sop Choppy, those we expect a diver hopefully today to dive it. They've been waiting on conditions, the river to slow down enough that they can actually get down there. They tried to dive it 2 days ago and had to pull out. They started losing their equipment. As soon as they dive it, hopefully they can open at least one of them. My expectation is they'll open at least one of them, but they've got some real questions with both of those bridges and want to make sure they're safe before they open them back up. And then Woodland Drive, obviously, there's a section now. We don't have anything that is, there's, Public Works can brief you on access these areas, but Caraway Road has got some access through the refuge, and Woodland Drive has got some access gained through some private property. So right now, everything is reachable for the citizens for the most part. And I think Bruce Ashley is going to brief you on some of the volunteer aspects. The biggest thing we've got going this time is the Big Bend COAD. It's our disaster organizations that are active in a disaster. We've ramped up. We're ramping up 211 in Tallahassee. Citizens in need can call 211 and ask for assistance. That'll then be paired to a volunteer organization. Volunteers wanting to volunteer can also call 211 and be paired with a volunteer organization. So 211 should be able to take care of both the folks wanting to volunteer as well as the folks needing a volunteer. So that's something fairly new, but it's a good concept, and hopefully that'll work. There's also, I think Bruce is going to give you information on where you can donate locally to help the citizens of our county specifically. And I'll let him brief out on that. And I'll just tell you, there's been a lot of work done by a lot of folks in this county. It has slowed down, thankfully. We're still, Public Works is out doing a lot of work. We've got a few details for law enforcement still happening, but for the most part, we've scaled back to our local resources. At one time, we had the Guard here. We had work from FWC and FHP, as well as we brought in our Wakulla Transportation to help transport people who were rescued with deuce and a halves and boats. Fortunately, that's all scaled down, but if any citizens need food, water, food and water, they can contact us, and we'll get them there either with a fireman or with law enforcement or some other citizen, or the Red Cross. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Water Management District.
Hi, I'm Nick Bruton with Northwest Florida Water Management District. Scott gave a call to our office and asked for assistance on some of the hydrologic conditions, and we have been in contact with them since the event first started. Some of the immediate effects from the heavy rainfall that you experienced down here in the county were some of the river runoffs in Sopchoppy area where you had the dramatic flooding, Lost Creek, and some of the surface runoff. What you're experiencing now is the recharge from groundwater in the primary recharge areas. The recharge areas in the county are primarily from this event, where the heaviest rainfall occurred over in the Bradwell Bay area, over in the National Forest, which impacts the Sopchoppy and the Lost Creek area. And that not only goes into the surface water features, but also goes into the groundwater. And that slug of water, kind of like a bubble, will be heading south, and is evident in some of the areas that Scott and I talked about this morning down in the Panacea area that are still experiencing some high groundwater levels and the ponding effects that Scott mentioned. The water, when it really doesn't have a way to get out, and there are some areas in the county that also are what are considered closed basins, which means that they drain internally rather than have a surface water feature. The county, for the most part, the geology here with the karst topography does drain and recharge directly to the Floridan. There's not a confining unit for the Floridan here in Wakulla County, so all the rainfall, for the most part, except for some of the rivers, goes down into the aquifer. When you get an extreme event like this, it will come up in karst features like sinkholes, swallets, and other karst features in the county, particularly in low areas. So that'll impact roadways, properties, homes, residences, that sort of thing. It sounds like, I think we may go around either with Scott if he has time, or I'm here today with Mr. Tom Greenhall with the Florida Geological Survey. That's a department of DEP, and they have geologists who are experts in karst topography in this area down here. We'll go around and look at some of those areas concerned and try to determine if they're still coming up and if there might be other impacts. But right now our assessment is that the water is dropping, and one of the stations that we operate is at Wakulla Springs. And after the event, we saw Wakulla Springs and the flows at Wakulla come up pretty dramatically to near peak levels, similar to what we saw with Tropical Storm Faye. And they have dropped fairly rapidly over the last few days. One of the complex issues with the geology down here is the interconnection of conduits between a lot of the spring features and karst features. And the water down at Spring Creek during drought periods like we had just before this event, it's theorized that the salt water gets down in the conduits at the coast and plug that spring, and it diverts the discharge from the submarine springs at Spring Creek and some of the other springs along the coastline to Wakulla. And that's what we were seeing in the record. Wakulla was much higher than you would expect during drought conditions. And when this event happened, we saw the flow at Wakulla go up dramatically, and now it's gone down fairly dramatically. It's dropped from about 2,000 to 2,400 cubic feet per second, which is the measurement that we use. And it's dropped to about half of that, which indicates that the submarine springs off the coast that's going to be draining areas like Panacea are discharging now. And it is tidally influenced, so when the tides are up and you have that storm surge, the immediate impact from that is that that would impede the water from flowing out, which would increase that ponding effect of the water standing on the land surface. But now that the rainfall's gone, we don't have the storm surge during the normal tide cycles, we would expect to see higher discharge at the springs during the low tide period. So the bottom line is, except for isolated areas, we do anticipate the water levels will be dropping for the most part throughout the county, and I wouldn't anticipate any other impacts from this flooding event except for those isolated areas, but we'll go out and get an assessment and pass the information on to Scott.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
I do. In an area like Panacea, you're seeing that the aquifer is setting underneath that, keeping it from draining down in. So the surface water is what we're seeing there. Are you saying the aquifer is up, so we're not getting the absorption? Is that...
Yes, it's actually two issues down there. It's not only the groundwater table coming up, which is the aquifer. The closer you get to the coast, the aquifer is very close to the surface once you get down to the coastal areas. And especially when you have times like this, the groundwater table, and because of the geology here, you don't have, like up in Tallahassee, where you have that clay overburden that is what's called a confining unit. It's a layer separating the surface from the aquifer. You don't have that in Wakulla. You have eroded limestone. So when the water table comes up, it comes up fairly close to the surface. That combined with the rainfall, it doesn't have an outlet to run off.
It seems like 98 Highway is acting almost like a dam.
It does. Frequently roads do act like dams. That's exactly right.
You got up at Spring Creek in 98, Ray Winkle in 98, Mineral Springs in 98, Chattahoochee in 98. All those places are blocked, and one side of the road's deep and the other side's clear.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's very common. Yeah, a lot of times you see that damming effect with roadways from, especially when you have a fairly shallow groundwater table. So we'll assist as much as we can.
Thank you.
Real quick, let me just say for the citizens, don't wait on FEMA to start making repairs and cleaning up your house. Mold is something we want to deal with right now, so get in there, do the things you need to do. Don't wait on FEMA thinking you need a claims adjuster to come see that. The important thing is that you start making steps to get back to normal. We do expect that we will be declared. We do expect that will be coming forward, but get your house in a safe order so you can continue to move on. That's because there is no guarantee that FEMA is going to be there. Use volunteers as you need to. That's what we're putting this program together for, so you can get people to come in and help you do muck out, help you clean up. But it's very important that you don't sit there and allow mold and those types of things to get ahead of you. So please don't think you've got to wait on them to come and do an assessment. Do what you need to do. They'll be in later. They can tell what happened.
Scott, can you just briefly explain to the folks that what they need to do if beginning the process now, recovering, documenting, taking pictures, keeping all their expenses accounted for, because at some point when we get the IA, individual assistance, they'll be able to claim even though they started ahead of that.
The first thing you do is contact your insurance company if you have insurance. If you don't, go ahead and start the cleanup process. You can keep receipts, you can keep documentation. It doesn't hurt to have them. FEMA's process is not necessarily a reimbursement process. It is for us, for the public, but for the private sector, they have a set scale on how they help people and what amount they provide, and they back out any insurance you have. That doesn't mean if you have insurance, don't apply. There's several things you're eligible for as a citizen. Certainly doesn't hurt to keep your receipts, but it's not necessarily a reimbursement process on the individual assistance side. But the main thing we want you to do, go ahead and contact your insurance company, get them mobilized, get them down if you have insurance, start cleaning up, start getting back to normal. And as soon as we're declared, we'll be setting up a disaster recovery center here in Crawfordville. And you can also, when it happens, there'll be a 1-800 number you can call and get your claim started. And what happens, the county will be out of that process as soon as you make a claim. They'll schedule an adjuster, they'll schedule a time. and from there, your dealings will be directly with FEMA and with FEMA adjusters, and those checks and all your conversations will be with them. That doesn't mean we're not going to be here. We'll be here to help you through some of the issues you may have, but that process is a FEMA claims process, and we're outside of it, but we'll certainly be glad to help citizens where they have a stumbling block.
I would like to tell the citizens one thing that I have found is that when you're paying your premium, the insurance company is your friend. When you have a claim, they're not necessarily your friend. If you have significant damage, they will send an adjuster to evaluate what your damage is. If it's significant, you can get your own adjuster. You can, and I urge you to do that. If you have significant damage, get your own adjuster, and there will be a significant difference between what the insurance says your value is and your adjuster.
And let me also clarify that the receipts, certainly if you're on the insurance side, you're going to need them, you're going to need the documentation. If you're on the FEMA IA side, you can keep them, but it's not nearly as important as making that claim and let them come out, because your claim is based on damage and based on your insurance, what you have. And again, they'll back out any insurance you have. They'll back that out from their claim. But certainly on the insurance side, you need to keep all the records you can keep, and it doesn't hurt to keep it on the FEMA side. It's just not something that they're focusing on.
And also take pictures.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you record those.
Just remember that adjuster is not working for you. When he comes to your house, remember one thing, that adjuster is not working for you. He's working for the insurance company. So don't forget that. It's worth thousands of dollars in difference.
That's all I have.
All right, Brad?
Throughout the week, we've run 3 different groups, teams out throughout the county to different areas. We have different damages in different areas. We have more on the upper east side. We have a lot of sinkholes that are still falling in. We're finding every day. Like Scott said, he pretty much told you about all the river flooding we have. Primarily during one of these events, we have a lot of surge along the coast. We had very minimal surge damage there. Most of our damage in Panacea and along the coast is, like Jerry said, it was like a damming effect. It's all rainwater, stormwater runoff that's on the north side of 98 that was just blocked. Preliminary assessments have been done. We did take teams out with FEMA and the state on Friday and on Saturday, and they filed their reports. Right now, our estimates, we've got around 418 homes that are affected in some way for around $9 million worth of property damage.
How many?
$9 million worth of property damage. Total destroyed or have major damage, we have about 30 mobile homes, about 76 single-family residences, for a total of about $5.8 million that are majorly affected. Of that, primarily most of them are in the Sopchoppy area, along Sopchoppy River. We do, like I said, have them throughout the county because of this ponding effect that we had. We still do have some houses that still have water around them, not so much on the river end now, but that's what we're dealing with on the inland areas. And those areas up through Saturday, some of them were still inaccessible for us to see and determine what the actual damage is to them. I'm sure as Scott is too that on the IA side we probably should get declared on that with no problem. And at this point, you know, like he said, the individuals need to contact their insurance company and start that muck out process so that they don't have mold and stuff continue to grow and make the situation worse than it already is. But that's all I've got for you right now.
Good. Thank you, Brad.
All right.
Scott?
And I'd like to introduce one of our partners with the Red Cross, Dan Sanborn. They've certainly been extremely helpful. They started early on opening shelters. Most of our victims have run into multiple IRFs, basically feeding vehicles with also cleanup kits. So they've been very involved in our community, very helpful. They will continue to be involved in our community doing damage assessments and from a individual needs assessment. But I'd like to open it up to Dan.
Gee, Scott, thanks for that. Our office works side by side with Scott. We do our function in a disaster is ESF6, mass care, and we do the sheltering and a lot of bulk distribution. As far as feeding, we've, with meals and snacks, nearly about 5,000 in the county. We've gone through all of our cleanup kits, about 300. We've got another semi coming in today to get all those out. The vehicles that we're using, we have quantities here coming out of Tallahassee, but we also ask for outside help. We've got another 5 of those vehicles with crews and equipment and supplies coming in from across the nation, as far away as Bloomingdale, Illinois. So we're on the ground. All of our folks are daily coming in, getting restocked, and going out in the community. And like Scott said, we're knocking on doors, making sure people have what they need, and the vehicles are equipped with just about everything: tarps, gloves, trash bags, anything to help you clean up, and any other assistance you may need. So we're here.
Now the shelters, we've closed the shelter at Rockwell Elementary School, correct?
It's on standby.
It's on standby?
In case it's needed, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But it is closed.
Very good, thank you. At this point in time, we're going to turn it over to Cleve Fleming. He and his crew, along with Alan Wise, have done a spectacular job of really assessing everything and starting the process of trying to return things to normal. So I'm turning the assessment damage over to Cleve.
Well, we're still in response mode more than we are getting things put back together. We jointly worked with the Sheriff's Department on when they have an urgent need, we respond to it. Pretty much Tuesday afternoons we got the graders back in service, and they've been working 12 hours a day and worked through the weekends with the same schedule. And the majority of the roads in Wakulla County are passable and usable. But areas where we still have water, which is in the Lake Ellen area, Woodlands, Panacea area, along 98, and some areas of Sop Choppy and south of Sop Choppy, where you got standing water, we can't get in there to implement any repairs. But we've got several culverts already replaced. We've hired a contractor where we had the roads have cut in half. We've actually got the repairs done to several roads that were cut in half that were on paved roads. But we still got lots to do. I don't have a real formal report. We're trying to develop that. What free time we did have was spent with FEMA all day into the night on Saturday, going around looking at sites. Their estimates right now is millions of dollars worth of damage, but I will bring back to the board. Those are more long-term projects. The one issue we have ran into with FEMA: Surf Road, Purify Bay, and anything on 375, FEMA will not offer any assistance to us on. These are roads that over the years the county has assumed responsibility for, and we're financially responsible for them. We do the routine maintenance on them, but they're owned by the federal government, so it's up to the federal government, the Federal Highway Administration, to repair those roads, and FEMA will not offer a dime to repair those.
Now that's Surf, Purify, and what?
375, Highway 375, south, basically coming out of Sop Choppy all the way to Leon County line, which includes 2 bridges that we have closed right now.
Who do we need to work on to get help from them?
Scott Nelson has been doing a great job. He's been in contact with DOT. DOT supposedly has came down and made an assessment, but they have yet to contact me. And have you heard back from them?
I haven't, but we've asked FDOT to handle. There is funding, it's just not through FEMA, it's through FHWA.
Well, I understand, but what I'm asking
We've asked DOT to handle the repairs on FHWA roads.
But if we could put pressure on,
that's what I'm asking.
FDOT,
We're gonna initiate
Surf
that.
Surf Road could be, Surf Road's an easy repair. We could already have Surf Road back in service. But that's one of the easier repairs, which would give you some, help. Lots of people use that road going back and forth across the county. But but the water is down there and is ready to repair. But I just want to put that out in front of the commission because, as I said, Surf Road can be repaired quickly, and that'd be a big help. We actually, 3 bridges, pardon?
Wait, so from what I understand, you're saying the money will come, it's a federal project, but it'll come from the state, or do we need to actually reach out to Congressman Sutherland's office?
I guess it's a federal FDOT, right?
Yeah, if the funds come down to DOT and then DOT can do the work or allow us to do the work and reimburse us, we've asked the state the DOT gets the funds.
Okay.
They do the work. If we do the work, we seek reimbursement from.
So, and then DOT is going to make the request for the funds, or do we need to be reaching out and adding help?
Yeah, the funds will become once we're declared. And yes, DOT will handle that. We've asked DOT to handle the repairs as well.
Okay.
And they were assessing as of today on what the repair needs to be.
Okay, thank you.
We got 3 bridges out on Highway 22. We got 2 bridges out on Highway 375. We're still, DOT had a team of divers, I guess, tried to dive it yesterday morning, and the water is still too fast, and they will not open the bridges till they do a visual inspection or inspection underwater to see if the bridges will be reopened. I feel like for sure 22 will be reopened without any problems. We got a little issues on the approaches that we can take care of pretty fast, but those are still pending DOT coming down and giving us all clear.
22 being the concrete bridge.
The concrete bridge, the newer bridge.
One with the fence on it.
Yeah,
We developed some scour underneath the bridge and the bridge approach and the road approach.
but we can, that's something again we can address pretty fast once we. In fact, I may go ahead and start the grouting process on the south approach is where we have the most of the problems there. Our sewer system has caught up. I know we've surcharged raw sewage into the area, especially around Panacea and on Surf Road, but our plant is rated for a 600,000 gallons a day, and we're pumping routinely 1.6 million gallons a day through the plant. There was nothing we could do, but the sewer system has caught up, and so we shouldn't have sewer. In most places, we shouldn't have sewer running onto the ground, but DEP is aware of this, and there's nothing we could do to prevent it. We've got two lift stations we got major problems with, and already got contractors working with those. That's Station 25, which is up here at Love Street. In Station 8, we've got a bypass pump, and we feel sure we got some pretty substantial damage due to the groundwater coming up so fast and maybe have damaged the wet well structure.
It's the main station, Panacea.
Yeah, that's a big station. We're starting to get requests from people about pumping out neighborhoods. I'll be getting with Scott Nelson, but some of the places we've been asked to look at, you can't pump the water. There's nowhere to pump the water to. I mean, if people look, there's a small place over here, but the volume of water you're talking about having to pump out, it's the area you pump it to is going to fill up, and it's going to all run back into where we've just been pumping it from. So, but we are going to be trying to look at what we can do to help relieve some of the standing water. But the gentleman from Water Management District said, the water has got to go down before we can get ahead of the water trying to pump it out. And that's about all I've got right now. I guess any question you guys have got?
That's river sink, nothing materialized up there. I was wondering, usually it, floods up there whenever it...
The only thing we have in that part of we obviously had lots of sinkholes. Most of the repairs are pretty well in hand up on the north end part of the county. Back there on Lonnie Raker Lane, we're up there right now. We're having to use private property to get people in and out of WP Strickland, and we got crews up there looking to see what we can do to make that a smoother process. But no, most of our problems are basically south of Crawfordville at this point.
On Caraway, those folks on Caraway,
We may have a back way in there. I was down there early this morning, and as soon as we can get it worked out, apparently, have you heard back from the refuge concerning the Caraway cutoff?
No, they had opened gates, they were going to determine whether or not they would let us actually include.
Okay. Anyway, but soon as they're supposed to call me, and we will go in there with our equipment and do what was necessary to try to make it accessible for all type of vehicles, the trucks and cars. We were down there this morning looking at that, and hopefully we can get that worked out.
as we go forward in this, you're seeing a lot of culverts, let's just say on 98, that we're not carrying the water. Not today or tomorrow, but as we go forward, will we be able to get any money from anybody to correct those in case we have, at such time we have this come again?
We're going to have to talk to, work with DOT on that matter, because, that's state road. I saw some of the areas you're talking about where it looks like if we had more culverts, it may have solved some of the drainage, and, but we can't really, the county can't really do anything to Highway 98, so it's going to have to be
That's correct.
we'll have to get with the state after the fact.
That's what I'm
I believe I've got two quick questions. One, are we also you're gonna have Upper Bridge inspected or no?
Yes, I'm actually going to add that to the list for the Upper Bridge, yes.
Okay. Now, also, I know, because one of the big issues is when we prepare our flood plans for Wakulla County, what level storm do we plan for? I'm asking, is it 200 year, 500 year? Or is that a flood plan?
I don't know if
what would different...
We don't plan for 30 inches of rain.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make, was that we've far exceeded what the normal level of water that we prepare for is.
I've got a road superintendent that's been here for 35 years dealing with these roads, and I routinely hear him saying he's seen water where he's not seen in 35 years.
Yeah, that was one
He's pretty much seen it all in Wakulla County, including major storms.
I emptied a 5-inch rain gauge 4 times on Monday.
Okay, if you got any more questions, like I said, we're overall, right now, the majority of the county is, you couldn't tell, you're not kidding, is not in distress as far as being able to go and come to the homes. Now, I'm not saying, I know there's troubled areas that people can't get into their homes, but we have to keep the public works going for the whole county, but we're dedicating all of our resources to the troubled areas, but we have also, when we've had people available, addressed some of the minor things to keep the rest of the county operating. So if you got any more questions, I'll answer them. If not, I'll be back in a few minutes to talk about waste.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Keith Lawhorn, would you please come up and let's talk about well water, please? Those are folks that are on the wells. I hate to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. Hi there, Keith Lawhorn with the Health Department. Right now, I've spoken with, first for always on municipal water, I have spoken with all of the municipal water people. Anybody on municipal water is good at this moment. They had no boil water notices. For those folks on well water, on the other hand, if your well was submerged, particularly the well casing, we are at this time going with the assumption that your well has been contaminated, and pretty much boil your water or get bottled water until such time as you have tested your well to make sure it is clear of bacteria. And at this moment, it's a $30 fee to get through our office to get your well water tested until we can get some federal assistance, and then at such time we can hopefully start doing free well water testing. If you get your well water tested and it comes back positive, we've got instructions on how to properly disinfect your well, which is highly advised because there's all sorts of bacteria that can be in the storm water. And surely don't want to be making everybody in your household sick. If, on the other hand, the water did not get up to your well casing, we would assume that your water's fine. But if you would like to go ahead and test it, no problems at all doing that. Other than that, y'all have any questions as far as the well water goes?
Keith, is there a place that folks can get a kit to do it on their own, or is that something that you have to do?
We do have well testing kits at our office that citizens can pick up, and you can also, there's a private lab in Tallahassee that citizens can go to called Accurate Labs. I will say that they would probably be able to get results a little more quickly than we can because we have to ship our samples off over to Jacksonville for testing, while the private lab here in Tallahassee does it in-house, and so they can get results probably several days quicker than we can. So, but it's up to the citizen how they want to do it.
And the cost is still $30?
It's still $30.
If I remember correctly, it's fairly easy to decontaminate your well.
It is. It takes about 24 hours.
Turn it on and let it run, pour bleach in it, and
But yes.
not complicated. You may want to do that if they have concerns.
Right.
It's not expensive either.
No, it's not expensive. It's fairly easy, and if there's any concerns at all, definitely consider doing it because it can't hurt you.
You have to also decontaminate your lines in your house.
Well, and that's when you bleach your well, you actually turn on all the water lines throughout the house, and so you distribute the chlorinated water throughout your whole house.
Keith, is that something that you could get with Jessica and let's put on on our webpage to instruct people how to do it?
Definitely. Yes, we can do that. Not a problem. All right.
And also, we're going to be working with the health department, and they're going to be working hopefully with, I believe it's Department of Agriculture on vector control.
Yes.
For the entire county, because as you're seeing now the mosquito population, this week you'll notice a significant increase, and I think you're doing your measurements now, right?
Yes, and I actually we do have a gentleman out right now who is actually putting out larvicide in as many of the high water areas as we can get to, in order to kill the mosquitoes before they hatch. And
can we do I talked to you about doing a spray,
aerial spray.
Can we?
That's what we're gonna work on that.
Yeah, because
we really need to do that.
We're looking at doing it. And of course, that's going to be one thing we have to get extra funding on, because that's a very, very expensive thing to do, aerial spray.
That's something that you can work on with FEMA.
Well, it's in the process.
Okay.
What happens, number one, it's predicated on that PA declaration,
Right.
IAPA, and then there's a process, they're getting numbers.
Okay.
We're in place to do it, it's just we've got to show the numbers for them to turn it on. So
Okay.
they're out recording now. Once we get the PA, then if we meet the numbers, we'll make a request and we'll move forward. But that
Super.
process is well, we're working on it.
And we also have an environmental health strike team from the state health office right now going out in the community, doing assessments on citizens, making sure septic systems are okay. They're actually educating those citizens who it's appeared they've had significant flooding. They're educating them individually on how to properly sanitize the well, what steps they need to do to protect themselves.
The aerial spray, I just want to mention, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not cheap. It's not something the county could afford to do.
No, we'd have to have assistance on that.
But if we don't do it, we're going to be sorry.
It's going to be a lot of mosquitoes.
It's not. FEMA has to come in and say that they'll do it, not us.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Morgan, Fire and EMS, he's going to give you a brief update on where we stand there.
Gentlemen, I wanted to give you a little bit of background of what we were going on. I know many of you have been out looking at the areas that were damaged, but this was just going to give you a few slides of what was going on and what fire and the EMS were doing during the period of time. You know, it started off before the rain actually got here with a lot of large trees that came down. This came down on a business in Medart that we were responding to. As we already mentioned, there was some storm surge, but not a great amount, that did affect a little bit of the coastal area before the heavy rain started. I would like to also commend the Scott Nelson in Emergency Management and the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. You know, they were doing a very great job of coordination on it, and anything we needed from the fire and rescue end and the EMS end, they were there. You know, we ran, I think it was close to 200 calls over the time of the storm for many of the things were wires down, such as you see here, and they were still hot, and because of the overload on the power company, it took a while to get people there to shut the wires down in many cases. They also did a great job, but because of the call load. Then the rains came. This is US 98 Coastal Highway towards Panacea. The Sheriff's Department put their deputies out in several different places to block the roads to keep people from going into the deep water. And the amount of water was, we've already spoken to that, or what it did. Our responses, our volunteer departments, every one of them with the exception of Smith Creek that didn't need to be manned, people came in before we even called them and asked them to come in. We called back the few extra staff to help us to get into the area. We started getting requests from the Sheriff's Office to remove some people from high water areas in Sopchoppy. We used our military vehicle that was obtained a deuce and a half to get into the high water areas, and we removed upwards of 16 at a load, was the highest load. I got with Scott and asked for transit to get them out of that area once we brought them in, and he got the transit system for Wakulla, got with the Red Cross to open up the shelter, so we were able to get those people as well. You know, we've all seen these pictures in the houses, what it did to people. And what kind of water damage there were. We continued to operate the one area that was a true emergency, where there was some people on Sopchoppy River that overturned in a boat, and FWC went in with their airboat and another boat to get them out. They were actually hanging on trees, and it was a very tense situation until we could get the resources there. Scott had pre-positioned some FWC assets because of the high water. They're trained in that, and was able to get the people out of that before they received any injuries that were severe enough for medical treatment. The EMS staff was also increased during that time. Fortunately, we didn't have a large increase of calls, but there were some areas that we had trouble gaining access to. These kind of pictures were common for the 2 or 3 days after the storm, and we were asked to use our assets to get into the people to see if they wanted to come out after the emergency, if they didn't have water in their house but they just couldn't have access to it. And we also were able to deliver supplies from what Scott had brought in for the water and or MREs. We staged them. Scott had them staged at the training center right next to the Sheriff's Office, and law enforcement distributed a large amount of those, as well as the fire rescue. And when we're dealing with these, our people ran across one person. The water was actually out of his house, but he's indicating on that where the water was in his house. And as you can imagine, and I'm sure there's most of the people in this audience can attest to what the water does to the house, but that's not real clear. But that wood flooring is way up, coming up. You know, the damage was very significant. Anytime you get water in a residence, it's going to cause severe problems. There were areas that we couldn't even access with our high wheel vehicles. That is what's left of a boat. We talked to one gentleman in his stilt home that he had 4 or 5 inches of rain of water in the stilt home itself. It's hard to see here, but this is the water line on that particular house. And that's what we dealt with to get people out. This is what Cleve is dealing with in many areas and already got them back passable for that. This is the one on Surf Road that we were just referring to. And I just wanted to give you a quick overview of that. We have had some significant damage in our headquarters building. We had 6 inches of rain flowing through Trice Lane. The fire station in Panacea had a significant roof leak where the second floor is ruined and has to be replaced, and we had one other fence down. The equipment that we've used, the EMS equipment and the fire apparatus, is, as we speak, being preventive maintenance to go in and assure that no water got into the hubs and things like that. So that will be a expense that we're going to track, and hopefully, if it's declared, to get reimbursed for that as well. Any questions?
Nope. Thank you, Mike. Brian, you want to give us an update on Parks and Recs and where we stand on our park system?
The park system, everything north of 398 and 319 and whatnot, they didn't experience as much damage as the portions of the park south. Woolly, Mash Island, and Rockland, and Chief Morgan had a couple of pictures of Rockland and where you can see the storm surge of the material brought up. We had a lot of not wind damage, but limbs down, trees down. They're taken care of on all the non-coastal parks. Doesn't look pretty. They're stockpiled right now. We're waiting for Road and Bridge to help us out, free up a few dump trucks to unload them. Woolly Park doesn't look the prettiest, but it has been stockpiled and waiting for removal. Same thing with Rockland. And we had a lot of erosion. It was the worst on the interior parks as far as your playground stuff and your ball field clay, and that's not just regular dirt or whatnot. That's a little bit more costly as clay or sand or dirt. But other than that, we fared fairly good on trees that fell down. The first time ever, they didn't fall on fences, they didn't fall on buildings. They fell right where you could want them to fall. So we fared out better probably than some other areas.
And you got all your boat ramps open now?
All the boat ramps were open the day after, cleared out so the fishermen could get their traps there. I saw a lot of them going out trying to retrieve some. And they are all open. Newport there's a few slight damages to the floating docks, whatnot, but nothing that's keeping them non-open. So we're good on that.
We lost all the beach at Mash Sands.
Lost a lot of the beach, Mash Sands. Trees down at Mash Sands. Lost the end of the road at Mash Sands. But that is the beach erosion program, that is a costly project for Shell Point and Mash Island. So that is something that the federals would have to come in and help us out on.
We've already talked to them about that as well.
I mean, there wasn't much beach to lose there. Is the bathroom still there?
Yes.
Still there.
Sadly so, yes.
One thing.
The bathroom at the boat ramp.
What's that?
Bathroom at the boat ramp.
Still there.
It's still there. It was
Got down to the
water.
And some of the things you don't see is that channel is probably gotten some sand in. It's going to have to be removed.
Right, so we can clog the channel up yet.
Now, it's still passable, but I'm sure it's gotten...
Cleve can handle that.
The biggest thing we were concerned about is we wanted to get the ramps open up for our commercial fishermen so they could get out and start earning a living, but also find the crab traps and whatnot. So.
But for those of you that don't live on the coast, I live on the coast, and on Monday, the wind was between 65 and 73 miles an hour. 65 and 73. On Monday, it was raining 5 inches an hour. So it was vicious. At one time, you could see the harbor, the waves breaking at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And other times the bay would be perfectly slick and the rain blowing across. It looked like it was an absolute vicious blizzard. It was unbelievable if you saw that. It's just...
You didn't evacuate, I take it?
No, I didn't. It wasn't a... No, I didn't. We had, actually, from Sunday till Tuesday noon, we had a foot of high water. above high tide. The regular got a 4-foot tide, we have a 5-foot tide. And one time on Tuesday, the south wind blew in an extra foot. So the most we had was a 6-foot tide, 2 foot above normal. And most of the time it was, in 20 minutes, that 1 foot extra was gone.
Real quick, just so you understand the damages, the pictures we saw of 98 flooded, that was rainwater headed south. That was not coastal flooding from a surge coming in. Coastal flooding was about Fay level, Gustav level. It was not anywhere near Dennis level. So the damages we saw to the beach, that wind just piled in directly on us coming. Yeah, it was just direct wave action. So coastal flooding, we've only got one home that we found so far that had damage as far as coastal flood, but we saw 98 inundated with just fresh water headed south.
Coming out of refuge, probably.
Yep. So that's a lot of those pictures showed that. It breaks your heart to see those pictures and know our county. That's a pretty good reflection of what our county's dealing with. It breaks your heart to know we've got citizens that are in that predicament.
Did the painted bridge go all the way underwater, by the way?
It did. That was actually an early picture. The painted bridge was under off of Stephen C. Revel at Olita's camp. That was probably 4 to 6 feet under at one time.
The new bridge?
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of fresh water. Yeah. Brian, you got anything else?
No, that's all. Any questions?
Very good. Thank you, Brian. At this point, unless Scott, you got anything else we need to add to the briefing? Okay.
Hear from Ron?
He's okay. At this point in time, we've got some items that we'd like, in preparation of presidential declaration, we'd like to give you an update as well as possibly give us the approvals to move forward with some of those items in preparation of that. Cleve, you want to come up and let's talk about debris removal, processing, and monitoring, please.
We originally thought that debris removal could be under our existing contract with Waste Pro, but I haven't actually read the email, but I've been told by my staff that the state has disagreed with our assessment of Waste Pro's contract, so we do not have a debris removal contractor at this point. We've tried to do a piggyback on a joint contract with Leon County and the City of Tallahassee with Crowder Gulf to do debris removal. We've got an RFP that's actually, I think, is going out. It may be on the street now for our own contract. But Crowder Gulf said they will honor their pricing they gave Leon County and Tallahassee. If we could figure out some way to still piggyback over the Leon County Tallahassee's contract, it has been through a competitive bid process. But right now, we've got to get some type of help with the debris removal and monitoring. Public Works does not have the staff to even begin to tackle that job. We are out of the solid waste business. Back when we were in the solid waste business, we would have 10 extra individuals to help clean up after storms. We don't have that, so we physically don't have the staff to get this done this time, or the equipment, because most of our equipment's been sold. And our road and bridge equipment is dedicated to road repairs right now. So if I guess what we're needing, David, is David get some authorization to give David to negotiate with Crowder Gulf based on the contract they have with Tallahassee and Leon County to move forward with our debris removal from the storm.
Now, if we get approval from FEMA and so forth, that would be covered.
It would all.
Well, it would be it's a 75% cover from FEMA. The other 25% will have to be borne by the state. They take 12.5, and then we'll be responsible for 12.
How do you monitor that? By the pound, by the truck, by the cubic?
Cubic yard.
Cubic yard.
Cubic yard.
Make a motion to allow David to proceed then. Is that what you need?
Yes.
Second.
Now, this is going to be similar to when we had Hurricane Dennis. You probably weren't around that time, but anyway, we had to stockpile it over at Butch Taft's pit, and we had to have guys sitting in scissor lifts, monitoring Crowder's trucks. Right, it's a pretty involved process. There's a lot of paperwork involved.
We're hoping that while we do have a loss of debris and flood damage household and in houses, we're hoping that we can direct haul, that we do not have to stage up in the county and rehaul after from a staging point. Most of the stuff we're going to have is going to be a C and D type, class 3, and there's definitely landfills that will meet those C and D and class 3 classifications, or will accept that classification of waste. And so we're hoping we don't have to get into a temporary site.
Just so nobody's confused, that I want to be clear on this too. Are we talking about people's wet carpet in their houses, or is that their responsibility?
That would include wet carpet. That would be all C and D.
Basically, if you can get it out to the curb, that's
What it does not include, though, is once you start your restoration, you've got scrap materials left over. It does not include that. This will be a quick.
This will be done in a
Yeah,
hurry.
1 or 2 week deal, and then we're done.
I hate to say this, but have we delineated the exact areas that got flooded? Because you know as well as I
Yes,
do what you
Scott's got that. We've already talked to FEMA about
Do
that.
they take their debris to a central location?
Yeah,
What they did in Dennis was set it on the side of the road, like you said.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about the haulers.
they'll haul it to the appropriate landfill. Either C and D landfill or class 3 landfill.
So we just take their word as to how much we send
No,
to. Well, then we can have a person that's
You
there.
have to have a
You have to
monitor.
have a person that's there.
Okay.
You have to have a monitor.
We
Yeah.
actually put a monitor on.
Okay, that's-
They make sure that it's that it's eligible debris, number one, and that it's from an impacted home, and it's not somebody doing construction.
That's good.
Or impacted. So if FEMA requires that, we're required to do that documentation.
More than likely, we're going to contract out. We don't have to contract out as we don't have staff to do it. We'll contract the monitoring out, and more than likely, we're going to go to our local workforce, and FEMA's agreed, and also the state has agreed to train that person or persons. So therefore, we'll put a few people to work from that, but it'll be all on a contracted basis.
It's not rocket science, but it does
I
take.
understand that. I knew you had to take it there. Have somebody.
Before we leave this and vote on this, I want to understand where's the catch that we can't use Waste Pro?
Well, I mean, this is you've always had a separate contract for debris removal
Right.
from disaster recovery. You've traditionally piggybacked Leon and Tallahassee, and I understand they said they didn't want to continue that arrangement, so, because they didn't want their disposal sites used, is that what the hitch was?
I think it boiled down to Wakulla County needed their own disposal site, and the state felt more comfortable that each county has their own contract as opposed to piggybacking on somebody else.
But your Waste Pro is just your general solid waste disposal. It was not procured, and it's not staffed up to do disaster recovery.
Okay, I understand that. So you're saying that Waste Pro has said that they don't have the ability to come do.
No, it's the state. It's
curbside.
the state. The state's telling you can't use them for that.
Okay.
They're trying to assure that we're eligible for reimbursement. They review the contract,
Okay.
and in their opinion, the contract is not what FEMA will reimburse us.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
They can do whatever they want for free, though, right? We don't. I think Stop Choppy, I think they're doing that for free, and that, of course, there's no conflict if it's free.
And Cleve, just so I understand, if we did the RFP process, how long would that take?
That's going to be a 6 weeks process. But I think we're okay using this contract under the current circumstances.
But how quickly can we get on that contract? Do we know that? A day, 2 days, weeks?
I don't think we need to try to start picking up waste until the latter part of this week. I mean, hopefully we would start getting it up The only waste we're getting up right now, we're clearing the right-of-ways. We have thank goodness we didn't have a loss of wind, but we do have a large number of trees that are down, and
Okay.
You want to get people time.
for safety reasons, we're getting those up. Is the only thing that we're taking up right now, and so the rest of the waste that we'll have to, I guess, do the news or our website or make the announcement about when it's going to be.
Now,
But it'll have to be a couple of different times to go through areas.
Just to clarify, currently what we're talking about, and the motion is that if we are declared the federal declaration comes, and we can enter into a contract with Crowder Gulf. But, does that also pertain, what is the wish of the board to, as far as if we do not get the federal declaration? Currently it's set up to where we've asked Waste Pro to, and they're opening up the landfill. There's a charge for that, as well as they put some cans out and Sop Choppy for this week and this week only, and they would probably be willing to do some of that. But moving forward, do you want to, only if we're declared?
Only if we're declared. If
Only
we're
if
not
we're declared.
We'll have to handle it on our own.
Okay.
But we can't. Our budget can't take.
No, it cannot take that.
$100,000 picking up storm debris.
We're using with a waste specialist this weekend. We used a possible number for a volume of waste, and it's somewhere between right around 10,000 tons. You as a county only produce 20,000 tons a year. That's all waste. That's household C&D. So it would about half of what that's potentially what we could get out of this storm. So it would be, if we don't get federal declaration, it would be a huge expense.
I just want to, while we're talking about debris removal, just to make it clear, because I know Nanette had some questions, and we put it on the webpage, what Jessica did. Waste Pro has agreed to come starting at noon today at Sop Choppy in the parking lot of the City Park today at noon till noon on Friday. It'll be free, and that was the best place to put it. That's where the most damage was. But if somebody in Panacea needs to get rid of some, and it has to be storm-related household damage stuff. We don't want household garbage. We don't want stuff from out in your yard, trees and all that's from material that's inside the house that's been damaged. Take it to Sop Choppy. They'll take it for free. And that's through noon on Friday. After that, then unless if we don't get this FEMA approval and piggyback, then you'll have to take it to the landfill, and you'll pay $75 a ton. Now they prorate that depending on the amount you bring in, or they'll bring a dumpster, a small 25 cubic yard dumpster, I think, to your home, and you can pay for that to be picked up as well. But so this is a one-time good deal this week at Sop Choppy. So I urge you to take, if you're pulling out carpet and pulling out couches and beds and whatever have been destroyed, that's the opportunity to go take and get rid of those this week.
Or Marpan, they don't have to go to our landfill. Marpan is $35 a ton.
Yeah, $35.
Less than half the cost. It's on Woodville Highway, and they don't have to use Waste Pro dumpsters. You can call Moody, you can call Crowder. If we don't get declared, there's plenty of people with dumpsters.
If we don't get declared, we'll come up with those phone numbers for the other locations, and like I said, and Marpan's a real good location, especially for the type of material we're talking about, the old carpets, the old furniture, because they go through there and they sort it and recycle it, and
half the cost. It's worth
and
the
it's
drive.
about half the
You got a
cost
little-
there.
But I'm sure we're going to be declared, and I'm sure you're going to be able to work out a deal. So
Right.
But if we need to, Mr. Chairman, we may have to come back for another one of these meetings.
That's
if
right.
that all doesn't work, we can come
Right.
back and have a brief.
And
one of these again.
we'll work to define, here's kind of what we're looking at as far as dollar-wise, that's right.
Does Randy's motion need to include going out for RFP so that we have a contract for this in the future?
No, we're out for that right now.
Okay, just making sure.
We were prepping for that, but the storm came a lot sooner than we thought. So that's already on the street.
Our contract will be well in place before our historical bad times. I mean,
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we won't have to have this confusion in the future.
Yep. We were trying to take care of that ahead of time, but the storm beat us. Okay?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
Okay. Cherie Keeler, she's going to come up. She has 3 items that she wants to present to the board that we're going to need approval on so that we can pursue a couple of things.
I'll
So,
go ahead
Cherie?
and make the motion on all 3 of these, and sure, you can still make your presentation, but I'll make a motion to approval to pursue a waiver from the governor for the 12.5% local match required by FEMA disaster assistance, and begin the process of developing and applying for a CDBG recovery grant, and begin the process and applying for a National Resource Conservation Service.
Second.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just explain to everybody what's going on.
Okay. I was hoping I could just go sit down. Okay, the first item is that, as County Administrator Edwards alluded to earlier, is that if we get the federal declaration, then the federal declaration will cover 75%, the state will cover half, and then the counties are on the hook for the other 12.5%. There is a provision in statute that allows the governor to issue a waiver for local governments, and what I'm asking is just permission to go ahead and have a letter drafted for the chairman's signature to request that.
Absolutely.
You know, I just don't want to lose an opportunity.
Right.
The other 2 items are grants that may be available once the declaration is received, and I'd just like approval to go forward with a CDG recovery grant because that requires public hearings and a meeting of the Citizens Advisory Group, and I would just like to be able to have all of that in motion once the declaration becomes available. And then there is one available from it's a new grant. It's the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and it will help do work for protection of the watershed, and I'd also like to pursue that one.
I wanted to mention that the River Sink, Mike, you probably remember this, the water system in River Sink was a CDBG grant from Tropical Storm Alberto that they completely paid for 100%, and we wouldn't have that system. Same kind of grant, I assume.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get some sewer, some
Yep.
lift station improvements, you know, especially the ones that flooded, Station 8 comes to mind.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
absolutely.
And I think we can do multiple projects, and so the deadline for all the grants is April 30th, 2013, so we'd have between now and then to put our projects in.
So we want to go ahead and apply while the
We want to get in the front of the
Kettle's hot.
line,
It has to be related to the storm.
and there has to be the presidential declaration.
It's okay, we got plenty of
You
projects.
need a list. I got plenty of.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll get those because David said you were the very best grant person.
She is. She has done it. She has done
I'm
it.
going to try and live up to that reputation.
Behind the scenes, this lady, she has done a lot of great work here the past 3 or 4
Great.
days. And before that she did too, but still.
Hopefully the governor likes you too.
Yeah, and the governor likes her, so that helps.
I think I'll sit down now for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Also, last item, it's not on your agenda, but we failed to get it on there, is our plans are to, and I need approval to utilize our disaster fund monies to front some of the expenses that we've got now. We've got a $100,000 disaster relief fund, and I'd like to have authorization.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
This is
Your
what
meeting.
reserves for.
Yeah.
We did have 2 citizens who turned in cards. One, Vladimir. And then we have an announcement. And I had a quick... Well, they don't have to. I'm just telling you citizens filed out cards. If you want to have other citizens talk, we'll welcome them. We'll let you come up in a second, sir.
Yeah, I realize it's a little early yet, but what's the proper procedure for filing a claim for the FEMA thing? We've had some roof damage done to our house due to a fallen tree, and how exactly do you go about filing a claim with the FEMA?
This gentleman right here he will help you, and you need to make sure you meet him, and he will help you,
Outstanding.
or get you on the right process.
And for everybody, as soon as we know we're declared, we'll be putting out information, FEMA will be putting out
Who's actually want to make an
phone number
announcement?
you call, and we'll also be setting up what's called a disaster recovery center that FEMA will manage. And you can actually go in and talk directly to FEMA and other partners.
Let people talk. Okay, Bruce Ashley.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks for calling this meeting. Basically, I wanted to get up on behalf of the Coalition for Youth and give the public, as well as anybody else that's interested in understanding of other activities that are going to be taking place and are about to start in a coordinated effort to help the people of our county. And I want to put out right off the bat, P.O. Box 1688 is the Wakulla Coalition for Youth P.O. Box, and their phone number is 926-3526. The Coalition for Youth is going to be a repository for organizations that are going to come together, as well as businesses, individuals that want to help those in our community that are in need of help. The community organizations active in disaster, or COAD, has met. We've met with the coalition, and we're going to take on the managing of the volunteer resource communication process for the following: 211 Big Bend. The coalition is now linked with them, and anybody that needs to be put with volunteers that can come and do work. May it be a ministry group from one of our churches in our community that's working, a volunteer group from a business in Tallahassee, Big Bend organizations, Volunteer Leon, Volunteer Wakulla. 211 is pairing people who call with people who will come and help you. So 211 is a big one. Ability First is there for citizens who have disabilities. And they'll be posted as well. Goodwill Industries offering vouchers for people in the community. Every household is entitled to a voucher to get help. American Second Harvest of the Big Bend is there, and they're able to deliver food to hit areas from the storm. The Capital Area Chapter of the American Red Cross, can't say enough about those folks, and they've been in the EOC and out in the community every day. There's the Samaritan's Purse, Tommy Belisario, who's a program manager for disaster relief with the North American Projects. They're on board. They will be in the community to lead volunteer organizations to assist citizens with the flood and mucking out your house if that's what's needed, cleaning up debris if that's what's needed. They'll send a team of 8 experienced site coordinators to your location if you coordinate through this. And I need to emphasize this next one. Lake Ellen Baptist Church will be a staging place for anybody that needs help. Starting Wednesday is when we hope to have all this up and standing. I'm a little ahead of the press that would come out on all of this and the declaration by FEMA. But Lake Ellen Baptist Church is going to be a staging location. If people need answers, if people have questions, if people need help, they'll be able to go to Lake Ellen Baptist Church and find representation of a lot of what I'm talking about to get help and bring forward one of their concerns or one of their issues. The Salvation Army is currently working in relief efforts down here. The Coalition for Youth, we felt, was the best place to put coordination, because all of that's going to stay in our community. It's not going to go to an administrative fee somewhere. It's not going to go up into Leon County and get used for some office up there. If it comes to the coalition's P.O. Box, if it comes to the coalition through a phone contact, it's going to help somebody in our county, and that's where it's going to stay. Volunteer Wakulla is working on this effort as well. Volunteer Leon and the Leon County Volunteer Center has met with us to help us through coordinated efforts of folks who in Leon County want to help our people down here. There's a lot of co-interests with business, with family, and there are people up there who want to coordinate and work with our charities and our organizations down here.
So the main number to call if people need help or want help is call 211 and they'll connect?
211 and 926-3526, which is the Coalition for Youth's phone number.
3526?
3526. And they will be, and I'm going to ask, I've provided copies to the commissioners and a copy to the administrative office. Would like to see this posted on your website as well, the coordinated effort that's going to be here for folks ongoing in our community. And I'm going to mention a couple other things that I'm aware of. The FEMA process, that's going to become important for folks that are in need, because it's not that simple. It's the government. And so when you get on the phone with FEMA to try and apply for help, it's going to take a 30-minute interview on the phone with an electronic kind of connection kind of process. That's not easy for folks right now. So it's going to be important to have a FEMA rep that somebody can come see. Some folks lost their phones. Some folks don't have computers. So it's going to be important that we have that representation in our community to meet with people, because it's not that easy of a process, and your battery might not hold up till you're done when you call them. So, okay, keep that in mind. I need to mention this because some of the things I've heard in the room today. The Department of Financial Services, which my wife works for this unit, the Consumer Outreach Unit of the Department of Financial Services, has already started getting complaints about insurance companies trying to say a tree falling on the house was a flood-related incident and therefore not covered. So if you have issues with your insurance carrier, remember the Department of Financial Services has a consumer outreach group, and they will directly negotiate and get in touch with your insurance carrier and ask what's going on and work with you on your claim. I need to mention that. And I would ask, based on what I've heard as well, the numbers being posted that were talked about on debris removal, I would rather those be posted quickly rather not after we find out if we're going to be declared. Some folks are moving forward with restoring their lives and their homes and need help now on getting stuff that might cause a health concern at their home, and they don't need to be waiting several days. Or if there's a contestment, if there's a readmission or resubmission, if it's delayed, debris removal needs to start happening quickly, and people I think would benefit from those options they have.
Let me say something about Bruce for y'all that don't know him. Bruce, your house went completely underwater, correct?
Yes, sir. About 7.5 feet deep.
Still underwater.
Well, I got to it yesterday.
All right, and Bruce is here.
But I won't be taking any of this help. Right. I had insurance.
Just saying, Bruce.
I had insurance, and it's not going to cover all that went away. But I had insurance.
You had it as bad as anybody.
Yeah.
In this county,
well,
and you're still up here offering to help people.
We're going to. Yeah. There's a lot of people that need commissioners. I thank you for calling this meeting. The sharing of information. I'll mention something else. We're coordinating a family day for the next few weeks. The sheriff's pushing this. We've got other people that want to support getting people back whole. So we're going to try and promote a community event where people who have been affected can come and have a decent afternoon of food and fun at a park. It'll be Hudson Park, most likely. That's our central place for uplifting events. But we're going to have that in a few weeks. And there are businesses who have reached out already wanting to donate to that cause of having a fun day for kids to come to, be away from what they've seen, have a gathering and a coming together, and that's you'll be hearing and seeing more about that very soon as well. So
basically, if you remember anything about this meeting today, the most important thing about this meeting today is that 211 number. He just said it's a number for people who are in need to get help from people who want to help you. So just get on that too, and it's not a government number, by the way. It's probably a private number, so you won't have to go through all the government stuff. Anyway,
it's heavily paid for by the government, but yeah, it's a major partners. Most of it's funded from the United Way and through the government.
Yeah,
and it's year-round, all the time. It's a number you can always call, but they're being very helpful during this.
And one other thing Bruce mentioned is that the Board of Commissioners called this meeting. This meeting was called by administrator, as best I understand.
The chairman.
Chairman, very good. Alan, congratulations. This is a very good meeting.
Thanks, Jerry. Any citizens who want to talk, for the record, if you would just fill out a card, so we have it for the record, we'd welcome. We have 3 more cards that have been turned in. Mr. Dale Boatwright. We just have to have, we keep your name so it can go in the public record as people who spoke.
Thank you kindly. I'm one on Raywilka Road, and 98 didn't stop the water. And we're total lost. Nothing was salvaged. And we've reached a place now, we're waiting for our insurance man, Farm Bureau, but I know he's a lazy, as you say. And he's supposed to come out sometime this afternoon and meet us on the farm area so he can take pictures and all. And if you want to see some of our situation, excuse me, get on Facebook, My son and daughter-in-law in Panama took a lot of pictures when he was about this deep in the living room, and it's on Facebook. And I'd like to get on the books, pages, whatever we need, FEMA to help, or whatever. I'd like for you guys to let me know what I need to do. We've got pictures and documenting things, anything you want to let us know, such as all the stuff in the house we have to move out now. And if it's going to the dump, okay.
Work with Scott. Scott will put you everywhere you want to go. The FEMA process will be slow. Just document every dime you spend, every item you see, whatever you can think of, and keep your records, keep your photos, and just work with Scott, I suppose.
By the way, this is my church across the street here. Any way we can help, I appreciate any help you can get. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Thank you. G. Coleman?
I live on Emmett Whaley Road. If you go down to the end of Emmett Whaley Road and take a right, I'm the only house on the right-hand side. I'm high and dry. Across the street from me is like, 50 acres of black water over there. I've been living there for 20 years. This is the third time I've seen that flood over there. I've talked to some of the old-timers over there. They told me they used to pick corn when they'd plant it there. It's an old flood basin. They used to pick corn from boats when it would flood over there. So this is a well-known fact that's been going on for a long time. When I first moved in '92, there were no houses across that street. Now there's the whole across the street. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses plus the subdivision they put in back of that. My input into the whole thing is that maybe there ought to be a little bit more forethought into where we put the houses, because this was a well-known floodplain. This is the third time we've seen people move out across the street from me because their house has been flooded out and mold has gotten into it and this and that. Why they were built there in the first place, I don't know. So maybe, you could avert a lot of this problems by not building there in the first place, And that's a floodway. The water hasn't gone down there. I watched the water on his gate across the street. It's gone down maybe 2 inches because the water has no place to go in that particular area, and it just sits there. So it's just something to think about. I'm not playing a blame game. It's just something in the future where maybe.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Jagger?
Thank you. I'm Joe Jagger. I live out in Indian Summer in Sop Shop, and you might have seen my house on CNN News if you happen to watch it, but it was the blue one as the boats went by. I'm very fortunate in the fact I got a lot of friends that have helped, and I work for a large construction company, so I have dumpsters out there cleaning out now. My question was, and I didn't see it addressed, is what type of building permits are we going to need from the county when we start putting this back together? I mean, I'm going to have to come in and take drywall 4 foot out all the way around my house, and
Let's let Rod go ahead and adjust.
Okay. Yeah. Is that your only question?
Yeah, that's my only question.
We'll have Rod come up. We didn't have him talk, but he was on the list. We'll have him talk now. Thank you.
Well, I wish I could say we didn't have to get permits for something like this, but unfortunately I cannot. And so any structural, any mechanical, any electrical, any plumbing that has to be done. Now, if you're just changing out some fixtures, faucets, stuff like that, of course not. But if you get into your plumbing system, your mechanical system, into your electrical system, or anything structural, then the normal building permits will be required. And I will say also, if we're dealing with flood zones, there are regulations within flood zones that will be based on the amount of damage to your structure as to what you can or cannot, or whether you can replace or not replace or bring it fully up to code. So, and we'll be glad to go over those with anyone. We've been fielding calls. We've not been inundated with calls at the building department as yet. I'm expecting that very shortly.
Does the 50% rule, Rod, apply to flood zones like it does?
Flood zones. If you're not in a flood zone, the 50% rule, as we call it, does not apply.
There's a flood plain and then there's a flood zone. Basically, if you're in zone A,
if you're in a zone A,
and you're not above base flood,
and you're not above BFE, if you're in a structure that was constructed prior to you, then you're in a I've lost the word for it, but it's a pre-existing structure that predates our ordinance. If you've been built since then, your floor should be at or above BFE, and there should be no limitations on what you can do.
Let's use that house in South China, for example, the old skating rink. Obviously, it's not above base flood elevation, so if that person decided they wanted to fix it, they couldn't spend more than 50%
Of the appraised value of the structure.
value of the structure, which you can get from the property appraiser's website.
Absolutely.
And if they did go over 50%, they'd have to
They would have
elevate
to-
that house above,
Above BFE, correct.
just so people understand. So if your house, like this gentleman was talking, they're in a flood zone and their finished floor of their house is not above the base flood elevation, which the best way to get that, I guess, would be the planning department.
Well, you can get it from there. If your house has been constructed, of course, now, we don't have records that go way back to the 80s, but we started, our flood ordinance was adopted in 1981. Elevation certificates, we track them as far back as we can to assist as much as we can from that standpoint.
This gentleman here was asking, I know the question you were asking, sir. Can he remove the first 4 feet up of his sheetrock, and that's not a structural problem?
I'm taking it off, it's no problem.
Right.
Do I need to have anything inspected now when I start putting it back?
It's not
Not
structural.
replacing.
If you're not doing any electrical, any mechanical, any plumbing or anything like that, you do have your perimeter insulation that would need to be re-inspected.
So do I need to get a permit before I cover anything back up? I need to come in and get
For something like that, if you're not doing any of the criteria right there and the only thing you're doing is replacing that insulation, a minimum residential permit would probably be required.
Rod, can you give your number out so people know how to reach you?
My number at the office is 926-7636. Of course, you're going to hit the, when you hit the answering thing, press 3, and that will get you directly into our office.
I also understand that these, the building code rules are state and federally mandated, so therefore these are not Wakulla County born rules. So therefore, understand Rod is doing what he is commanded by the federal and state governments.
And most of what we're going to be dealing with here are going to be our FEMA requirements as they relate to flood zones.
I guess I'll ask one question. You mentioned here, and the guy earlier was talking about why do we build where we build and whatever. Someone mentioned base flood elevation. Our buildings now are required to be above base flood elevation.
Absolutely.
So, sir, your previous question is why are we doing it? Today we're supposed to be above it. Now, if you get 100-year, are we talking about base flood, 100-year flood?
100-year flood.
Well, it's based on our maps, and I wasn't around when our maps was established, but I'm assuming that those base floods, and someone in planning and zoning could probably speak clearer to the actual
Do you have it?
Yes, it's 100-year
construction of the maps, but my understanding is 100-year flood.
So answering the previous guy's question, we're now building above a 100-year flood.
Right.
And this one was well above a 500.
Hopefully we won't have those same homes being built.
And also, this was a 500-year event, so, I mean, this is just something
All bets are off.
A 500-year flood's 15 inches in a day. And we more than 15 inches in a day.
We had a 1,000-year flood.
So, thank you, sir. You're welcome. Ralph Thomas.
As we had when the ark came.
So we would consider that a 500-year.
Good morning, Ralph Thomas, 637 Trace. I appreciate you calling this meeting, a lot of good information. Just to piggyback on that base flood elevation, there's a lot of people in this county that had water chest deep in their house right now that's not in a flood zone, and so that's not necessarily an indication they could still be flooded.
I understand, though, we had a 500-year, that rainfall was a 500-year.
It's probably a good time for the FEMA maps to be updated, I imagine, but that's not what I was here to speak about.
Ralph, there was actually a meeting of that, but the flood caused us not to be able to do the flood map review.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be June 26th.
I'm sure that'll come now. But what I wanted to speak about is just a word of caution so folks are not victimized a second time. I rode through my neighborhood right after the storm cleared, and I saw 2 vehicles moving slowly, surveying everything, which is not uncommon. We were all kind of doing that. These 2 gentlemen in the 2 cars were communicating to each other through hand signals, and I can tell that. The odd part is neither one of them had tags on their vehicles. And one of them had an Alabama dealer plate that was on the back with no tags. I did call it in the sheriff's department, so just warning that looters are certainly out there, and I don't know, but I have a good idea that's what these guys were doing. They were hunting for some bargains they could find on the side of the road, I'm sure. And also just to be careful that there will be probably some unlicensed contractors that are showing up trying to get some work and maybe from out of the area. So just be cautious of that. Make sure that we're using reputable people. One last thing, I heard Cleve mention raw sewage on the ground and flooded pump stations. Yesterday was the opening day of scallop season, and the boats were out. Has there been any look at that, at the coastal water quality, and is that violated at all? Should that be a concern?
I think the health department would probably...
I'm told on the scallops that you have to feel around on the bottom to find them. You can't see them in the water.
Oh, people were limiting out yesterday. There were boats out there, so and probably a lot of them don't live here, and maybe they don't even realize that there might be a problem, and maybe there's not. I don't know.
Only DEP and FWC, they monitor that fairly heavily, so I'm sure they've already taken samples, because they would have already closed it down.
Speaking of your people, your unlicensed people, that's the question I had there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rod's coming back up.
I've already been in contact with Department of Business and Professional Regulation. I have been told that they will be canvassing our county beginning this week, looking and checking for illegal license activity going on within our county as it relates to people repairing and working on their homes.
You can do all the repairs you want on your own home.
Yes, sir.
Blue in the face, but you cannot go hire someone even to put a stud up unless
If they're properly licensed. And that does not mean in Wakulla County, we do not have a local licensing board, so if you hire a contractor in Wakulla County, unless they are registered in our county prior to our local board being dissolved, they've got to be a state certified builder, residential, building, general, electrical, mechanical, plumbing.
So anybody who has a question can give you a call.
Yes, they can.
And punch 3, and you will tell them if this person is licensed.
We can check licensure within our county, yes.
And if somebody tells somebody that they don't need a permit, if they're suspicious, call y'all.
Best call us.
No.
You're going to be told they don't need a permit for this.
Absolutely.
Randy,
That's a ploy to get in to mess you up.
So, absolutely.
Randy mentioned one thing there, and I want to get a clarify. You can't do anything you want to do to your own home.
Can't.
If you get an electrical,
Your personal home,
on your personal home, you can do your
you got to
work.
get a permit, but you can do the work yourself.
okay. I'm just, this gentleman here is going to have a lot of work to be done. I'm trying to get him correct.
Florida statute allows a homeowner to do their own work.
Very wonderful.
David Damon? When they're done.
Fee is going to be for a permit, say you're doing a sheet rock repair or whatever.
For something like what he's doing, where it's just going to be some insulation and stuff, my basic fee, with planning and zoning, there's a $30 development permit application fee. I have a $35 app fee, and my minimum residential permit fee is $65. So you're right there, you're around $120, $130.
Is there any way we can either waive or reduce those for storm only related?
We'll look at that and see. A lot of these fees are also they're state registered.
There's state
Well,
fees.
that's fine, but
And we have to
set those fees, but
Right, the building permit have to come out of general fund, so
well, like the
that means
DPA.
everybody else in the county would pay for it. So.
DPA, for example.
But there are,
DPA will look at that.
I'll mention again, you have groups like the Wakulla County Youth Coalition that are helping raise money to help give back to people who need help. So be reaching out if you need assistance.
We will help. We
That's
will
gonna be the
reduce
best way.
which ones we can that don't come out of the general fund. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't want to spend money. I'm just
That's
saying,
right.
if there's something that only goes to the county, like the DPA, for example, we can either reduce it or...
Right.
We don't want a free-for-all on it, obviously.
Right.
David Damon?
Yeah, I'm here to bring to your attention a problem over on Posey Road. We have a house over there, and here's a photograph I took yesterday of the kids in canoes going over a 4-foot high fence in the backyard. All the water is coming down Posey Road from up where it forks at Carter Road, and it comes down there like a river, and it never did that until about a few years ago. It did it once, but it never came up this high. And now with this rain, of course, we're all seeing problems, that we didn't see before, but this has become a real issue. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And David Randall has complained over the years about this, and another guy named Robert Leonard has complained about this over the years, and really not been given any attention by the county as to what caused this problem. Cleve is aware of it. We've talked about it. But it started a few years ago when somebody bought the old Tully property, and they began filling it in, the wetlands, the wooded area in the marsh. And over a period of time, it went from a very wooded looking area like that to now it looks like a football field with nothing but sand. And that's where the water is coming from. This filling was done, I guess, about 5, 6, 7 years ago when he bought the property. And you can see where it cuts across there like a river, and it floods down that road, and every driveway along that road has gone underwater. But we're at the bottom of that hill, and we catch it all in a basin there. There's a pond in the backyard, and so we're kind of like a bowl-shaped thing. And the pond fills up, and sometimes it comes over the banks, but it's never come up under the house, over the slab, into the storeroom, where vehicles park on the slab, and there's tractors parked there and equipment and stuff like that. And I got a panicky call. I was up in North Carolina hiking with my scouts, and I got this panicky call on Monday night, and I made a U-turn and came right back just in time. Or everything would have been lost. But the problem needs to be solved. The county needs to get in the middle of this. The county administrator needs to jump in on this. And we need to solve this problem. This can't happen every time there's a good rain. Granted, this was a big rain, but still, this can be solved. For 30 years, I've been on this land, and this was never an issue before. So now we have this problem. The county needs to get in the middle of this. The county attorney is aware of it, as I understand. Things have changed with the wetland evidence and that kind of thing, but I think we need to readdress this and the county get on board. Let's solve this problem so it just doesn't happen over and over again. Would you like to see any of the photographs?
I'll get over with Cleve on that.
Well, you can leave them and we'll put them in the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, just give them to Katie over there.
Okay, and I'll leave my phone number, and I hope to hear from somebody on this. Thank you. I know y'all got your hands full, but I appreciate it.
Joy Neves. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. Neves.
75 Parsons Lane on the Sopchoppy River, and we were flooded. We have about 2.5 feet of water or had in our house. And my question is about the IA portion of the FEMA. And I know that he was saying that we should know more along about Wednesday, whether or not we're approved and all that. Could somebody give me an idea of what kinds of things that are covered? I do have property insurance, no content insurance. I know there are a lot of other things that are not covered. Is FEMA, is that like
Scott, will you head out?
Is that loans?
Can you answer her?
What kind of things does the IA, individual assistance, does FEMA help cover with that?
FEMA backs out any insurance, and then they help cover for rental assistance if you're at the major home. There's some minimal funds for, they help you get back to what they consider livable.
So some of the things that the insurance would not cover, would not pick up, they would maybe
She asked
be able
about
to handle.
contents. Let's say you had I don't know if you have a fire jacket or whatever.
They're not going to help with
Or wells or septic tanks or anything that's compromised like that. Any of
They
that.
possibly will help with septic tanks as well, but they will not help. What their goal is to get the citizen back to what they consider livable. So they'll help remove, they'll pay for the drywall to be removed.
Is it loans to be repaid, or is it?
With FEMA, it is a grant. It's money you don't have to pay back. Now, there's also going to be, if we're declared, if we get SBA approval, SBA is a
Small business administration.
Okay.
They offer low interest loans as well to citizens, but that is a payback.
But the FEMA is the grant.
But
Okay.
FEMA also comes with some strings, though.
Yeah, the FEMA, you're going to agree to continue to have flood insurance on that property, flood insurance. But again, that'll all be as we move forward, and when they say livable, they don't give you funds to allow you to put the drywall back. They give you funds to remove the drywall, remove the material there to keep it from getting mold, or to keep it from being a safety hazard. So
I see.
if they're not not gonna give you checks, these are house taxes.
To decorate your home or whatever.
These are house taxes, what they consider livable.
Okay.
And that's based on the claims adjuster who'll come in and look at your house and make that determination case by case.
I think that helps and should be able to find out more later on. Okay.
And I mean, the county will not be involved in that process other than we'll have some liaisons.
So you just need to go to the center that they set up and deal directly with FEMA.
We're still waiting on that president's declaration, but I hope to see it, I believe to see it.
We're waiting for the governor to make the request.
He's made the request.
Yeah, it's okay, perfect.
For IA, he's not made the request for the
PA.
side and PA, but we expect that will happen soon.
Thank you for having this meeting. It's been really helpful.
Thank you. I want to, and those are the last of the citizens we had. I want to touch on two issues real quick. Lori Hutto, if you want to wave, from Congressman Sutherland's office is here. Feel free to reach out to her if you have any concerns that she might be able to help out with. She's been really generous to come down today. Also, I've had a couple concerns from citizens around the county who are state employees. Who, when we told people to stay in Wakulla County because the roads are dangerous, were not able to go to work, and the state currently, as my understanding, has not actually made them take the day without pay. So I've contacted our state delegation and asked them to reach out to the governor and ask the governor to excuse the absence, not treat it as an unexcused day without pay. And I'm just encouraging all of you who have the same opportunity to reach out also. Just something else. Any other concerns? Any other concerns from our board that y'all want to touch on before we adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I just want to comment, and I know it's been heard all over, but I want to thank, I spent a lot of time with Cleve and his crew and going all over the county, and I know many of you have, but especially Scott Nelson, and I know we give him a lot of praise today, but from the very beginning, sitting up there just watching that show go on, without his leadership, I'm not sure how we would have fared. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable. He's recognized across the state as one of the most knowledgeable, and I can tell you
He's
that
had lots of experience.
we've got a good man there, and we should be proud of that. The sheriff's office, like Randy suggested, we've had sheriff's people out, the whole force out 24/7, even when their own homes were flooding. Not just one, but many of them had their homes flooding, and they were out, helping other people. The county assessment team, you guys, y'all are out 24/7, and I appreciate that, because without what you have done, we wouldn't have anything to submit, and that's so important to document all this damage, and you guys have done a great job. Fire, everywhere I went, before we could get there, fire was already either there or on their way to block roads and to help people get out of the homes that were flooded. And of course, David Edwards and all the administration were working 24/7. So, people may say things about us being backwoods folks, which we are and we're proud of. We're resilient, and I'm sure that we're going to rebound from this, and with the help of the county and the state and the federal government, we're going to get everybody the help they need to recover from this. It may not be back to where you were, but we're trying to do our best to help you, and I want to make sure that those people who work so hard are thanked for that, and I appreciate that, what you've done. I mean, really, y'all have gone above and beyond the call of duty during this, and this is something that's unprecedented. I keep having people call me and about some of the, to me, sometimes seems so insignificant right about now, but it's important to them, and every call that I've made to people who have to respond have gone and done it without hesitation. And if you need help, you need to call us. And the best way to do that is to call Scott Nelson at the Sheriff's Office in Emergency Management, and he has the resources that he can send out and help. Going forward from here, it's going to be a process that's going to be painful, but it's federal government and it's state government that we got to work with, and it's red tape. And just like Bruce Ashley said, it's not an easy process, but you just got to bear up and do it so that you can get refunded for what's happened to you. And I want to thank all the people of Wakulla for just being patient with us. Cleve and his crew are out working, trying to work 7 days a week, trying to get roads graded and back into shape, the ones that he can. And he'll continue to do that. There's a lot of things that's going to go undone for a while that Cleve's going to have to take, priority with the small workforce that he has. The grass may get a little higher on the sides of the roads. Other things may not get done that you're used to seeing done about this time of year, but he's going to do the best he can to manage all the damage that we have now. So just be patient with us, and any questions, call Cleve, and I can give you his personal cell phone number, but I won't. But his folks have done a great job too, so thank y'all.
Randy, do you have any comments? Gary? No. One more thing, I heard I have one more citizen from the Red Cross who wanted to speak. I heard the Sheriff's Department mention they wanted to do some events at Hudson Park. If the date's available, do you all have any problem waiving the fee for them?
Oh, no.
So I think
No,
that
we
is
should
so
pay 'em.
official. They should pay the fees?
No, we should pay them.
Oh, we should pay them.
was
So,
a joke, but
do we need to
no.
make a motion?
We need to wait.
We'll probably join in on that as well.
Okay, so we'll combine together to help waive the fees, so they won't have to pay for that. Ms. Lovett, Brenda Lovett with the Red Cross wanted to come address us as our final speaker.
Good morning. I guess
Thought
it's
you
still
wasn't going to
morning.
be here.
I actually have questions for the county that maybe y'all can connect me with a contact person. We're starting to do casework in the area. I've been the liaison at the EOC since last Monday, but I'm getting a lot of calls from Tallahassee chapter asking about casework, and specifically Section 8 housing. And if you could give me a name and number of someone who coordinates that for the county so that we have a point of contact.
Yeah, you get up with me after, and I'll get that. We've already started working on some of that.
And Bruce Ashley's doing a lot of with the youth coalitions, serving as a connector for a lot of things. And Meridian does our Section 8 housing. And the young man, the gentleman's name would be
Ezron McDaniel.
Ezron McDaniel.
Okay.
We'll get you a number, Dave.
Yeah, we'll get you a number.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
To adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you all very much. Hope you all dry out soon. That wasn't the question you asked all of us.
Good times.
That's all right.